It's midnight, and Nightline begins right now with me, Adrian Seet. The top stories. 4 GRS MPs who quit Bersatu get to keep their seats. And Phase 1 of Sumbangan Tunai Rahmah to be paid out from Tuesday. Thanks for joining us. The 4 Gabungan Rakyat Sabah GRS members of parliament who quit Bersatu have been told by Dewan Rakyat Speaker Datuk Johari Abdul that they get to keep their seats. This was confirmed by Sipitang MP Datuk Mat Bali Musa after he had received a copy of a letter from the Speaker that was addressed to Sabah Perikatan National Chief Datuk Sri Ronald Kiandi on Monday. He also said the copy of the letter had explained to Datuk Sri Kiandi the grounds that justified the 4 MPs not having to vacate their seats. Datuk Mat Bali added that copies of the letter were sent to the 3 other lawmakers, namely Papa MP, who is also Minister in the Prime Minister's Department, Datuk Armizan Muhammad Ali, Batu Sapi MP, who is also Deputy Tourism, Arts and Culture Minister, Khairul Firdaus Akbar Khan, and Datuk Jonathan Yassin, who is Ranau MP. On December 29th last year, Datuk Sri Kiandi, who is now Sabah Bersatu Chief, sent a notice to the Dewan Rakyat Speaker to complain about the status of the said 4 MPs after they exited from Bersatu. The anti-party hopping law at the federal level, which was enacted early last year, states that an MP from a political party has to vacate his seat under 2 conditions: if he resigns as a member of a political party or if he ceases to be a member of the political party. The cash assistance program for the B40 group under the Finance Ministry has been rebranded as Sumbangan Tunai Rahmah, or STR, and will continue to be improved upon. Prime Minister Datuk Sri Anwar Ibrahim, who made the announcement on Monday, said payment under Phase 1 of the initiative will be credited into the accounts of the registered recipients in stages from Tuesday. Datuk Sri Anwar in a statement said that Phase 1 of the STR involved a payment of 1.67 billion ringgit, which will benefit 8.7 million recipients in the B40 category. The payment was brought forward to January from the initial plan in March to ease the people's cost of living burden. The payment is made according to categories, with 4 million households receiving 300 ringgit each, while 1.2 million senior citizens without spouses and 3.5 million single individuals each receiving 100 ringgit. STR recipients in rural areas, including Sabah and Sarawak, with or without bank accounts, will also receive the payment on the same date. Recipients who do not have a bank account can cash out the payment at Bank Simpanan Nasional, BSN branches beginning Tuesday. At a separate program in Perlis, the Prime Minister said the government will have to balance between pressing needs of Employees Provident Fund, EPF members, as well as their future survival before deciding on the calls for another round of special withdrawals. Datuk Sri Anwar, who is also Finance Minister, added he was concerned over the small amount of remaining savings amongst the majority of EPF members.
Kalau tengok ada orang yang simpan KWSP itu duit itu sedikit sekali. Jadi saya kena timbang tentang keperluan yang mendesak dan juga masa depan mereka. Terlalu kecil. Saya cek jumlah yang ada majoriti pencarum itu sangat kecil. Jadi saya bimbang tentang masa depan mereka. Jadi lebih baiklah kerajaan cari jalan untuk bantu mereka.
Datuk Sri Anwar said this to reporters after delivering a special address to 1,200 civil servants from federal agencies in Perlis on Monday. He was responding to a memorandum submitted by Pertubuhan Aktivis Rakyat Malaysia, Pro Rakyat, on Sunday, asking the government to approve another round of EPF special withdrawals of up to 30,000 ringgit. The group said the early withdrawal was needed as a short-term solution for those who suffered hardship due to the COVID-19 pandemic. Meanwhile, Raja of Perlis, Tuanku Syed Sirajuddin Putra Jamulalail, on Monday granted an audience to the Prime Minister at Istana Arau. This is the first audience granted by the ruler to Datuk Sri Anwar since taking office on November 24th last year. In a posting on Facebook, the Prime Minister said during the audience he discussed matters relating to the development and prosperity of Malaysia and Perlis. Raja Muda of Perlis, Tuanku Syed Faizuddin Putra Jamalulail, was also in attendance. Also present were Menteri Besar Muhammad Shukri Ramli and State Secretary Datuk Sri Hasnul Zamzam Ahmad. Earlier in Putrajaya, Datuk Sri Anwar has urged civil servants to not be afraid to report any form of abuse by the unity government, and he himself should not be spared if found to be in violation of the law. The Prime Minister said this is because the country will not progress if there are too many leakages in the administration.
Yang saya tekankan ialah penguatkuasaan. Apa yang saya pelajari, terutama di Kementerian Keuangan, boleh lihat banyak fail-fail, banyak keterlanjuran. Nak salahkan pegawai, kalau minit daripada menteri, apatah lagi Perdana Menteri, dia patuh. Tetapi saya telah beri pengarahan yang jelas. Kalau ada minit dari Perdana Menteri sendiri pun, kalau dianggap melanggar peraturan undang-undang, sekurang-kurangnya saya dimaklumkan terlebih dahulu. Apalagi kalau di kalangan pegawai di pejabat saya, atau pejabat TPM atau menteri.
He said this when addressing the staff of the Prime Minister's department during its monthly assembly at Dataran Perdana Perdana Putra on Monday. He also called on the cabinet and civil servants to emerge from their culture of contentment and earnestly implement change in the national administration. Also present were Deputy Prime Minister Datuk Sri Fadila Yusof, Minister in the Prime Minister's Department for Sabah, Sarawak and Special Functions, Dato' Armizan Muhammad Ali, and Chief Secretary to the Government, Tan Sri Muhammad Zuki Ali. Yang di-Pertuan Agong Al-Sultan Abdullah Riyatuddin Al-Mustafa Billah Shah granted an audience to Singapore Foreign Minister Dr. Vivian Balakrishnan at Istana Negara on Monday. At the audience, both leaders touched on matters of strengthening the long-standing special bilateral ties between Malaysia and Singapore. Controller of the Royal Household of Istana Negara, Major General Dato' Zahari Muhammad Arifin, in a statement said the 30-minute audience was part of the official program for Balakrishnan's 4-day visit to Malaysia, which began on Sunday. Foreign Minister Dato' Sri Zamri Abdul Kadir was also present at the audience, which began at about 2:20 p.m. Last year, the Yang di-Pertuan Agong and Raja Permaisuri Agong Tunku Haja Aziza Amina Maimuna Iskandaria made a 4-day state visit to Singapore beginning October 25th. During the visit, the King and Queen met Singapore President Halimah Yacob and granted an audience to Prime Minister Lee Hsien Loong and his wife Ho Ching. In 2022, Singapore was Malaysia's second biggest trading partner and the biggest in ASEAN, with a total trade amounting to 336.73 billion ringgit, a 30.8% increase from the previous year. The Education Ministry has identified more than 300 dilapidated schools in the country that need immediate repairs and maintenance, which will be given due attention in the 2023 budget. Its Minister, Falina Siddiq, said that the dilapidated schools were amongst the 7 main focuses of the ministry in ensuring that the welfare and safety of the teachers and the students are prioritised.
Pastinya dalam belanjawan itu juga menjadi keutamaan kita untuk memastikan bahawa bajet itu juga tertumpu kepada pembangunan sekolah-sekolah daif di seluruh negara. Maknanya kita nak pastikan tidak ada yang terpinggir, baik Sabah, Sarawak dan termasuk juga di Semenanjung.
Fadlina said this to reporters after visiting Sekolah Kebangsaan Perempuan Bandar Tinggi in Johor Bahru on Monday. She also said the number of dilapidated schools that needed immediate repairs and maintenance would be listed down in detail to enable appropriate allocation of funds through the 2023 budget. She added that the ministry was also ascertaining the number of teachers' quarters that needed repairs, maintenance as well as upgrading works. Earlier, Fadlina announced an allocation of 500,000 ringgit for SK Perempuan Bandar Tinggi, which is close to a century old, to repair the damaged wooden building that houses the school's office and teachers' staff room. The Home Ministry believes that a conducive relationship with Media Prima Berhad, MPB, is essential, especially in terms of the ministry's operations. Its Minister Datuk Sri Saifuddin Nasution Ismail said this was because the ministry, which has various people-related agencies under its purview, is looking to harness the delivery aspects of its policies. He said this after receiving a courtesy visit from the group's senior management, led by its chairman, Datuk Sri Dr. Syed Hussein Al-Junaid, at the ministry in Putrajaya on Monday.
Saya memandang memberikan perhatian yang berat dan serius kepada aspek sumbangan dan penglibatan kumpulan media-media prima ini, dan saya akan tidak tanpa lengah-lengah lagi akan mengatur beberapa program dan rancangan dalam masa dekat ini, terutama dalam mengetengahkan peranan agensi-agensi dan jabatan-jabatan penting di bawah kementerian dengan dukungan kumpulan media prima.
Umpamanya dengan PDRM kita ada rancangan 999. Dan tadi semasa kita berjumpa dengan Yang Berhormat Menteri, kita juga telah berbincang bagaimana kerjasama ini kita boleh ditingkatkan dengan agensi lain seperti penjara, JPN dan sebagainya. InsyaAllah Yang Berhormat Menteri juga akan melawat ke Sri Pentas, dan semasa di Sri Pentas itu kita akan membincang secara perinci bagaimana kerjasama ini dapat diadakan.
Also present during the visit were New Straits Times Press Berhad Group Managing Editor Dato' Ahmad Zaini Kamaruzaman, Media Prima Television Networks and Prime Works Studios Chief Executive Officer Dato' Khairul Anwar Saleh, Media Prima Omnia Chief Operating Officer Muhammad Effendi Omar, and Group Corporate Communications General Manager Azlan Abdul Aziz. Daughter of Thailand's exiled former PM to seek premiership. This and more when Nightline returns. An Indonesian court on Monday began a trial of a handful of police officers and football match organisers on charges of criminal negligence for their role in one of the world's deadliest stadium stampedes in Java last October. A court in Surabaya was hearing charges against 5 people, including 3 police officials and 1 security officer and a match organiser. If found guilty, they face a maximum prison sentence of 5 years. The trial was held via teleconference due to security concerns, said court spokesperson Agung Pranata. Indonesia's Human Rights Commission, which conducted an investigation into the stampede last November, found that police fired 45 rounds of tear gas into the crowd at the end of the match, causing panic that led to the stampede. Investigators concluded that excessive and indiscriminate use of tear gas was the main trigger behind the deadly crush. The disaster, in which 135 people died, occurred after a match in Kanjuruhan Stadium in Malang, East Java. The daughter of Thailand's self-exiled former leader Thaksin Shinawatra has declared her readiness to run for Prime Minister in an election this year as the main opposition seeks to regain power after being ousted in a coup 8 years ago. Petongtran Shinawatra, whose father Thaksin and aunt Yingluck Shinawatra both led governments toppled by the army, will run under the PU Thai Party. the latest incarnation of a populist movement founded by her billionaire family 2 decades ago. 36-year-old Pei Tong Tan has attended party rallies in the past year and has led opinion polls in recent months on top Prime Minister candidates, far ahead of incumbent Prayut Chan-o-cha, who as army chief overthrew Yingluck's government. Prayut, 68, joined the new United Thai Nation Party last week, hinting at a bid to remain premier. He has yet to dissolve parliament, and an election must be held by May. Over in China, passengers laden with luggage flocked to rail stations and airports in the country's mega cities on Monday, heading to their hometowns for holidays that health experts fear could intensify a raging COVID-19 outbreak in areas less equipped to handle it. It was believed that Beijing's main railway station has been packed with passengers leaving the capital in recent days, while temporary night trains in Shanghai have been added to meet a demand for travelers heading to the eastern Anhui province. Meanwhile, arrivals in the gambling hub of Macau exceeded 55,000 on Saturday, the highest daily figure since the pandemic began. Authorities on Saturday said nearly 60,000 people with COVID had died in hospitals between December the 8th of 2022 and January the 12th of this year. More than 2 billion trips across China are expected in the weeks around the holidays. In Nepal, searchers on Monday found both the cockpit voice recorder and flight data recorder from a passenger flight that crashed, which killed at least 70 people in the country's worst plane accident in 30 years. According to officials, both recorders were in good shape and would be sent for analysis based on the recommendation of the manufacturer. The data on the recorders may help investigators determine what caused the Yeti Airlines ATR-72 aircraft to crash in clear weather on Sunday just before landing in the tourist city of Pokhara. Meanwhile, authorities said 2 more bodies were recovered on Monday, taking the death toll to 70. The search, however, was called off for the remaining 2 missing people as darkness descended. The operation will resume on Tuesday. The plane carrying 68 passengers and 4 crew members went down in the Seti River Gorge when it was flying from Kathmandu to Pokhara. to sports, football. The AFF Mitsubishi Electric Cup. Thailand were crowned the champions for the 7th time when they claimed a narrow 1-0 win in the second leg of their final clash for a 3-2 aggregate victory. The only goal of the match came in the 24th minute through Thiraton Bunmathan's fine effort from outside the area. Vietnam then pushed hard in search for at least 2 goals to turn things around. But Thailand defended their advantage well to claim their 7th AFF trophy. Both teams were tied at 2-2 in their first leg clash in Hanoi. Turning to tennis, the 2023 Australian Open. Rafael Nadal kicked off his title defence campaign with a bit of a struggle along the way to a 4-set victory over a cramping Jack Draper on Monday. Nadal was not in peak form but did manage to beat Draper 7-5, 2-6, 6-4, 6-1 in a match that took more than 3.5 hours in Rod Laver Arena. It was the first match win for Nadal in 2023. He had lost 6 of his preceding 7 contests, dating to the end of last season. Meanwhile, Nick Kyrgios has pulled out of the tournament due to a knee injury a day before he was scheduled to play his first round match. Kyrgios announced his withdrawal on Monday, which was supposed to be his first day of action at the year's first Grand Slam tournament. In the women's event, 2-time champion Victoria Azarenka held off Sofia Kenin in the first round to claim a spot in the next stage. The world number 24 Belarusian was forced to battle hard before taking a 6-4, 7-6 win. Also in the second round was Danielle Collins. The last year's Australian Open losing finalist progressed with a hard-fought victory against Anna Kalinskaya 7-5, 5-7, 6-4. Joining them was former US Open champion Emma Raducanu. The British player shrugged off a bothersome left ankle issue in Auckland last week to beat Tamara Korpatsch of Germany 6-3, 6-2. She will face the 7th-seeded Coco Gauff for a place in the round of 32. After this breather, 14 arrested in 9 drug raids. Welcome back. A drug trafficking syndicate has been smashed with the arrest of 14 individuals and seizure of drugs worth 1.67 million ringgit in 9 separate raids by the Johor Police. State Police Chief Datuk Kamarul Zaman Mamat on Monday said the raids were conducted in Kulai, Iskandar Puteri, Sri Alam and Mersing between January the 5th and the 14th. According to Datuk Kamarul, the suspects comprise 3 men and 3 women who are locals and 8 foreigners, including 2 women. The syndicate's modus operandi was using gated and guarded condominiums to pack and store drugs before distributing them to the local market, especially entertainment centres.
Salah seorang daripada mastermind ini menggunakan kereta mewah yang bernilai 300,000 lebih, 300,000.
He also said the drugs seized included over 70,000 Eramin 5 pills, 54.7 grams of shabu, 19 ecstasy pills, as well as small amounts of heroin, ketamine and ganja. Authorities also seized a Maserati car, jewellery worth more than 44,000 ringgit and a 45,000 ringgit wristwatch. Dato' Kamarul added authorities were trying to detect the head of the syndicate and its network. All those detained aged between 21 and 48 have been remanded for a week beginning January 15th to assist in investigations under the Dangerous Drugs Act. In Pulau Pinang, police have crippled a drug trafficking syndicate with the arrest of a married couple and a third person, as well as the seizure of 451 kilograms of drugs worth 1.13 million ringgit in 2 raids in Penaga, Kepala Batas last Friday. State Police Chief Datuk Muhammad Shuhaili Muhammad Zain said a raid was conducted at a house in Penaga at 7:30 p.m. A former policeman was arrested after the police found cannabis weighing 10.2 kilograms worth 25,000 ringgit with him. The man's wife was also nabbed after finding cannabis weighing 441 kilograms worth 1.1 million ringgit at the premises. In another raid, a 42-year-old businessman believed to be the mastermind was arrested. 3 cars and 2 motorcycles were also confiscated. All 3 suspects are in remand until January 20th for probe under the Dangerous Drugs Act 1952. In Selangor, a married couple were charged at the Ampang Magistrates Court on Monday with murdering a restaurant waiter after a package left on the bonnet of the man's car exploded last December. Koh Swee Boon and his wife Ng Hui Yi, aged 33 and 30 respectively, only nodded after the charges were read out to them before magistrates Nur Maizan Rahim. No plea was recorded from any of the accused, as murder cases are under the jurisdiction of the High Court. The duo were alleged to have murdered 29-year-old Cho Lim Fung in front of a restaurant in Pandan Indah on December 29th. The charge under the Penal Code carries the mandatory death sentence upon conviction. Counsel RSN Raya, who represented both the accused, asked for bail to be granted to Ng on the grounds that she had to take care of her 2 children, aged 5 and 7. However, the court rejected the bail application and set March 23rd for mention. In the incident, the victim died of severe injuries from the blast. It was reported that the homemade bomb was remotely detonated. In Kedah, the chairman of a cooperative was remanded for 6 days for investigation over alleged false claims in a 20.3 million ringgit dairy cattle farming project in the state in 2015. The remand order against the 57-year-old man was issued by Alor Magistrate Muhammad Zulhilmi Latif on Monday. According to a Malaysian Anti-Corruption Commission MACC source, the man was arrested on Sunday at the Kedah MACC office in connection with allegations that several companies had conspired to submit false claims for payment incentives for the project in 2015. State MACC Director Dato' Shaharum Nizam Abdul Manap confirmed the arrest and said the case was being investigated under the MACC Act 2009. On January 11th, a company director and a company owner, aged 51 and 52 respectively, were remanded for 4 days in connection with the same case. And Nightline draws to a close this time around. Let's take a look as dozens of colourful hot air balloons are taken to the sky of Palachi, India during an international balloon festival. With that, I'm Adrian Seet. Thank you for watching and stay safe.